On behalf of George General Contractors, I want to thank you and welcome everybody again for joining us here on the special program featuring our Honorable Mayor Ivy Taylor. George is pleased to serve as the presenting sponsor and to help the North San Antonio Chamber host this room full of business, nonprofit, civic leaders who care so deeply about San Antonio and its economic vitality, our families, and our future. It is now my distinct honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Mayor Ivy Taylor. Ivy Taylor was appointed to serve as the Mayor of San Antonio July 22nd, 2014. Mayor Taylor was appointed by the City of San Antonio's City Council to fulfill Julian Castro's unexpired term as mayor. Prior to her appointment, Mayor Taylor served as District 2 City Council representative, a position she held since June 13, 2009. She served two and a half terms for a total of 5 years. Mayor Taylor began her career working with the City of San Antonio in the Housing and Community Development Department and the Neighborhood Action Department. While at the city, she worked with a variety of neighborhood associations, developers, nonprofit organizations in order to facilitate inner-city redevelopment. She also planned several of the city's housing summits, which provided an opportunity for community partners to exchange practical ideas on how to address our city's housing needs. After 6 years, she left employment with the City of San Antonio to become Vice President of Merced Housing, Texas. As Vice President at Merced, she worked to create and implement programs focused on children, education, health, and financial literacy for apartment community residents. Mayor Taylor is a lecturer at UTSA in the Public Administration Department. Mayor Taylor currently serves on the board for Healthy Futures of Texas and Big Brothers of South Texas, Big Brothers and Sisters of South Texas. She has served on the city's Planning Commission and as a commissioner for the city's Urban Renewal Agency. On the advisory board for Our Lady Lakes University, Our Lady Lakes Center for Women in Church and Society. Mayor Taylor completed the Leadership San Antonio class sponsored by the Greater San Antonio Chamber of Commerce, and in 2004 was acknowledged by the San Antonio Business Journal as a rising star in their 40 under 40s class. In 2008, she completed the Bank of America's Neighborhood Excellence Leadership Training Program. Mayor Taylor obtained her master's degree in City and Regional Planning from the University of North Carolina at Texas Hill in 1998. I was hoping I didn't slip and say University of Texas. In 1992, she received a bachelor's degree from Yale University. Mayor Taylor is a loving wife and a mother. Please help me to welcome our Mayor, Ivy Taylor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you so much for that warm introduction and that warm welcome. So it's just been 2 weeks. And in those 2 weeks, I've had to address streetcars, charter changes, stormwater fees, and continuing negotiations on police and fire contracts. It seems a lot longer than 2 weeks. But I am still really energized and excited. I know it's common to build these events as a presentation of the mayor's vision for the city, and of course, I'm excited and honored to be here today outlining our bright future. But you know, and I understand, that in the next 10 months, 300 days, I'm not going to remake the city of San Antonio using a completely new mold. I am going to focus on a few priorities, many of them already in the spotlight. As was mentioned, I was trained as a planner, so I approach issues methodically, gathering as much information and as many opinions as I can, and weighing all viewpoints. I do not think of myself as a politician, But of course, I respect the voters and my fellow council members who elected me. I take seriously the responsibility of being a public servant, listening to constituents and trying to craft policies that improve people's lives and make decisions that benefit our entire community. I feel the same way about my colleagues on City Council. I welcome their advice and counsel and look forward to arriving at collective decisions with them. Because I don't need to run for office this year, I have a freedom that many elected officials rarely enjoy: the ability to speak my mind. So, I will be doing that over the next 300 days. So let me list a few problems that we're facing: education, economic development, transportation, public health and healthcare, urban vitality, charter reform, infrastructure, and of course, water. If I were more of a politician, I'd refer to these as challenges or opportunities rather than problems, but problems they are. How do we help San Antonians educate themselves for tomorrow's jobs? How do we attract those jobs? Where do we find the money to create a transportation system that meets residents' needs now and in the future? What does it mean to be a healthy and sustainable city? I know these are questions that the North Chamber members, leadership, and staff ask themselves, and all of us here in the room. I know that sometimes these problems seem insurmountable. It's easy to think that things are just getting worse, and somehow we've been in a slow decline since the founding fathers passed from the scene. But if you take the long view of San Antonio's history, I think you'll see just the opposite. And as you get to know me, you'll also find that I'm a history buff, love history. So I'm sure parents in the 19th century would have given anything to have safe, reliable drinking water for their children. I know downtown residents in the 1920s could only imagine a San Antonio River that was a showpiece rather than a deadly threat. And there are many grandparents around today who tell stories of being punished for speaking Spanish in school. And now we recognize that a bilingual workforce can be a major economic development asset. Things are getting better, not just in San Antonio, but of course in these United States. And I say this proudly yet humbly as an African-American woman who's mayor of the 7th largest city in the United States. My mother couldn't even have dreamed of such a thing when she was growing up in the 1950s. Another natural temptation is to see our problems in terms of us versus them, to put our fellow San Antonians into categories based on geography, gender, sexual orientation, religion, party affiliation, or the color of their skin. This is somewhat natural. I mean, if you look at animals in nature, they have to categorize. Do I eat that or do I run from it? You know, is this a friend or a foe? Do you like me? Do you not like me? But we can't afford this kind of stereotyping and scapegoating. We need all San Antonians to be in the game, because that's really where my vision for San Antonio lies. It's a vision of how we work together, how we govern ourselves, how we build things of value to pass on to our grandchildren, just as our great-grandparents built municipal water systems and parks and roads that we enjoy today. I know we can do this because we already are. Look at the San Antonio River Improvement Project, Hemisphere Redevelopment and Park, and our Greenway Project, so ably championed by prior mayors. Without dedicated public servants like Mayor Lila Cockrell and Mayor Howard Peak, we wouldn't have invested wisely hundreds of millions of dollars addressing flood control and creating one of the most impressive municipal linear park systems in the country. We can set big goals, engage the community, deliver great results over decades, and make the most of our considerable assets. These projects are embraced throughout San Antonio. They unite us rather than divide us. This is my goal over the next 10 months, to help us work like a team that can tackle even the toughest problem through inclusive, community-based planning. My teammates are the city council members, city staff, other governmental entities, and most importantly, each and every one of you in the room today. This is a team where there are no superstars, no LeBron James here. We're all role players. We listen to and respect our team members. We ask for their respect in turn. We don't succeed by passing the ball to the big guy under the basket and hoping he scores. We have a system and we work it. Just as our 5-time NBA champion Spurs showed the world that basketball also is a beautiful game, my aim is to turn on its head the idea of planning as boring. A comprehensive city master plan. Are there any believers in the house? That's right. I know Leela's a planner. I know there's at least one other planner in here that thinks planning is sexy. A comprehensive city master plan crafted jointly by stakeholders, led by citizens, addressing our problems in innovative ways. That's as exciting as a Spurs passing game. Well, maybe not quite, but you get the general idea. Our planning process will be our system, and I hope to instill it in my team the way Coach Pop instills his system in his team. It is the process and the people, not the plan, that remain dynamic and vital. A document just sitting on a shelf, no matter how well crafted, is useless. I've already started the task ahead by calling for a halt on further investment in the divisive downtown streetcar proposal, which had come to symbolize to many an out-of-touch government and wasteful spending. Streetcars had just become a proxy in larger battles, whether those are about spending priorities, transparency in government, or even union negotiations. Let me be clear. I support dense urban development and better mass transit, but we can't make such a far-reaching investment just because government dollars were available or everyone else is doing it. We must make these decisions in the context of a larger plan, the first ever comprehensive master plan for our city. At the very least, we need to craft our downtown and transportation plans so that they are mutually supportive, and invest in projects that grow from the plan. Both of these processes are currently underway. I've also asked the city manager to indefinitely postpone the new stormwater fee schedule that was mentioned a little earlier. Again, this is an issue that cannot be addressed in isolation. Drainage, impervious cover requirements, and who pays for our growth, these concerns cannot be addressed in a piecemeal fashion. This morning, I attended my first SAWS board meeting in my new role. And of course, ensuring access to abundant and affordable water supply is key to our economic vitality as a city, and therefore I will be closely involved in these discussions. In addition, SAWS plans for the future must be in alignment with our new city master plan. To accomplish these goals, I will institute a new comprehensive plan initiative with 3 major components. Now, if there are nerds like me in the audience, this is where you take some notes. So, okay, first component is a Citizens Leadership Academy so that residents of our city can play an active and informed role in planning their own future. Second is a community advisory board so that the major stakeholders and institutions like SAWS, CPS, Bexar County, the River Authority, and business and community groups can be at the table when key decisions are made. And third is the City Council Committee so that City Council will maintain ownership and leadership of the multi-year initiative, and I asked Councilman Ron Nierenberg to chair that committee. I believe that this kind of rigorous and inclusive planning, including a multi-year capital improvements plan tied to our comprehensive plan, will help us leverage other funds. We started doing this work on a smaller scale on the east side. Through an intensive collaborative effort, we've been able to garner support from the federal government for our East Point redevelopment project. Collaboration on this scale in other areas, such as the west and south sides, can help us attract new investment and leverage local taxpayers' dollars. On another tough issue that we've had to tackle, San Antonio has struggled with public health issues such as obesity and diabetes for decades. In many cases, these are self-inflicted wounds, epidemics triggered by our low levels of activity in daily living. Our children need to be able to walk to school safely, and families should be able to bicycle to the park. And it's not just trendy downtowners who ought to have access to a neighborhood deli and fresh fruits and vegetables. Furthermore, economically poor neighborhoods still struggle with access to health care. To address these issues, this fall, I'm pleased to announce I'm co-sponsoring, along with Bexar County Judge Nelson Wolff, a health summit tackling a broad range of public health issues. The summit will allow practitioners to come together to craft local priorities and legislative initiatives. We of course, have to be mindful that the Texas legislature will meet in 2015, and we all know that anything can happen when the legislature is in session. Inside City Hall, I've reorganized council committees to recognize the key role that education plays in economic development. I know that most new jobs come from growth in our own small businesses rather than luring new companies to town. It's time to recognize this and to support small businesses by coordinating the policies and regulations that affect them. We need to address adult literacy and continue to support job training tailored to actual jobs that real companies can offer. An example that I'm familiar with is a nonprofit organization called SAGE that's been working on the East Side, where they have been working to assess the potential for companies to expand and helping to assist them. We have to take this work just as seriously as we do the potential for job growth through relocation. Of course, we've invested in pre-K, but we must still focus on expanding access and quality of our early childhood education centers beyond just the pre-K centers. Real local job growth is an important issue tied to pre-K as well, because we know that children do better in school when their families are stable and out of poverty. We have a lot of work to do if we're going to engage citizens across San Antonio. Not only do we need to educate and inform, but we need to gain their trust as well. My desire is to create a package of well-reasoned and effective charter amendments to be placed on the ballot next May. This is an opportunity to restore accountability, but also to make our government, your government, function more effectively. On the subject of restoring trust, I intend to review a draft process for implementation of the non-discrimination ordinance within the next 30 days. We can't pass ordinances and let them linger. We must fulfill our promises if everyone is going to feel that they have a role and place in San Antonio. We truly are a team. I couldn't approach any of these goals unless we had an excellent management team in place at City Hall. Some of you may have read that just yesterday the city refinanced $72.5 million in existing bonds and certificates of obligation at a 1.68% interest rate, saving more than $6.7 million and freeing up additional capacity for infrastructure improvements that citizens ask for every day. This low interest rate is directly attributable to our AAA bond rating, and I know that our city manager, Cheryl Scully, is worth her weight in gold. She has proved this again by developing a budget proposal that we'll review quite shortly for the next fiscal year that balances responsibility with providing public services needed and wanted by our citizens. We will continue this commitment to fiscal responsibility, which requires a balance between the costs associated with ensuring that we have a robust public safety team and providing other city services. I know that we can get everyone to the table. If we can get everyone to the table for negotiations, we can agree on contracts that provide excellent benefits for our public safety workers and also allow us to address other pressing needs for our citizens. I commit to you that over the next 300 days and counting, I will be a team leader that seeks input from all and focuses on achieving results. And I will be calling on everyone in here to play a role in the important work that's before us. Thank you so much.